You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. According to an Innocence Project report, blacks are 7 times more likely than whites to be wrongfully convicted of murder, and 3 times more likely than white people to be wrongfully convicted of sexual assault. Such is the case of Lamar Johnson. In 1994, the ACLU believes that the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office committed gross prosecutorial misconduct in order to convict Lamar of murder. They knowingly presented perjured testimony, fabricated facts to negate Johnson's strongly corroborated alibi, and buried the fact that a prime witness against him was a paid jailhouse informant. Here to talk about what's happening with that case and the bigger picture is Somil Trivedi. He's the senior staff attorney for the Criminal Law Reform Project at the ACLU. So we had you on a little bit ago, and so what has changed thus far? Has anything happened thus far?
So Lamar Johnson, joined by the Circuit Attorney of St. Louis, and I can't press how significant this is, joined by Kim Gardner, the woman who should be prosecuting him, has decided that his overwhelming innocence is so clear that he ought to be given a new trial. So they filed this new trial motion in the district court. It is now up at the appeals court. Having lost in the district court said, I don't care about this new evidence of innocence. I don't care that he's been proclaiming his innocence for 25 years. It's just too late. So they're letting a technicality get in the way. So we are going to St. Louis on Wednesday, December 11th, for the appellate hearing, where we're going to tell the appellate court, first of all, this technicality should not stand, that we have greater issues of justice at play here, and the trial court has all the authority it needs to overturn this decision and give Lamar Johnson a new trial.
Now, is this state or federal court?
State court.
Typically, appellate courts on states love to really give a lot more leeway to the DAs. In cases like this, you had really greater luck in federal courts.
That's typically true, and it may be true here. We're also up against the fact that the Attorney General for the state of Missouri is siding with the courts and against Lamar Johnson. So much so that the courts actually kicked Kim Gardner, the prosecutor, out of the case, and she had to rejoin as sort of a third party. And so that tells you the kind of obstacles that we're up against in the state court system of St. Louis. The deck is fully stacked against Lamar Johnson, but we still think we have the right argument, and justice is on our side.
But again, as we discussed last time, it is stunning to have a prosecutor review the evidence and say, this man should not be in prison. And these folks are saying, too late, forget that. I mean, they would rather have an innocent man. They would rather spend money, thousands upon thousands of dollars, to incarcerate an innocent person than to do what is right to say, free an innocent person.
That's right. For hundreds of years in this country, we've allowed prosecutors to use their quote-unquote discretion to throw young black men like Lamar Johnson in jail. The second that, oh, by the way, a young female African-American district attorney gets elected in St. Louis and tries to use her discretion to do the right thing, all of a sudden, everybody's lined up against her.
And these are the sort of things that is happening with these progressive DAs across the country, but especially women, black women. We've seen this, of course, in Baltimore. We've seen it in Chicago. We've seen it in Florida, numerous states where these things are happening. Then what you have is, then you have the Attorney General of the United States. Then you have Donald Trump. Both of them standing before law enforcement officers and making it perfectly clear that progressive DAs, they are, in essence, the scourge of the earth.
And I want to point out the double standard. Just today, Bill Barr, with his hand-picked investigation into the origins of the Russia investigation, said, I can't believe that they brought this investigation on the thinnest of evidence, right? So when it's his guy, an old white man, getting persecuted, he wants to uphold high standards and a high standard of proof, right? But when it comes to commenting on these democratically elected female women of color who are using their discretion to do the exact same thing, to stop the over-prosecution of young black men in their jurisdictions. He has a lot different things to say.
And so, hearing is on Wednesday.
Yep.
How long do you expect it to take before the appellate court rules?
These things take time. So what's important here is that we keep up the drumbeat of pressure. So tomorrow morning, the Color of Change is going to release a petition with tens of thousands of signatures supporting Lamar Johnson's case. Also, at the appellate court level, the Innocence Project, the ACLU, hundreds of law professors in the field of legal ethics, 9 post-conviction scholars, and dozens of former prosecutors and current prosecutors themselves have signed on to briefs supporting this petition. So that's who believes that Lamar Johnson is innocent and deserves a new trial. And on the other hand, all we have is the state of Missouri in the way.
Who is going to be arguing the case on Wednesday?
So it should be Lamar Johnson's counsel at the Midwest Innocence Project, as well as his individual attorney, Lindsey Runnels. And as I said, Kim Gardner's office has come in as a third party, so they will argue it. And on the other hand, it's the Attorney General of Missouri.
Again, this is why we also make clear elections matter. And so we certainly appreciate it. Somil, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I want to bring in my panel right now, Avis Jones-DeWeaver, leadership strategist, of course, Cleo Monago, behavioral analyst, as well as Johanna. Glad to have you back. You've been gone a while.
Thank you.
Yes, LeBlanc, she's been traveling all across the world, so get all the frequent flyer miles in. Avis, to this point with this case here, this is why I keep telling people elections matter.
Absolutely.
Yesterday, I was flying back from St. Louis. I spoke at Tennessee State's graduation on Saturday morning, spoke to the Alphas in St. Louis, Epsilon Lambda on Saturday night. And we're at the airport, and a young brother comes up to me. He works at the airport. And he says, Mr. Martin, I got to ask you, I didn't vote in 2016. And you did a commentary where you called people like me dumbasses. Do you still feel that way? And I said, yes.
Even more so.
I said, no, I said, yes. I said, well, let me explain you why. And I understand Cleo's, his point is like, oh, be more affirming. I'm like, no. I said, this is why I call you dumbasses. I said, what's the most important thing you care about? And he mentioned a particular issue. And I said, do you understand that there is not an issue that you care about in your life that a politician does not impact? I said, if you're driving down a street and you're pissed off about potholes, do you understand that there is a city official or a county official who is responsible for the roads? I said, if you want a stoplight or school crossing guard, I said, political people have an impact. In this case here,
Yes.
the state attorney general,
Yep.
if you had a state attorney general who cared about justice, then that's who you could vote for. They elected a progressive DA there in St. Louis. And the folks there have been fighting this sister, trying to steal her authority.
Yep.
In fact, Wesley Bell, now she's the county DA, right?
She's the city DA.
So she's the DA, Wesley Bell's the county DA. So you got 2 African Americans who are district attorneys who are the DAs there in St. Louis. And they have been fighting them like dogs.
Absolutely.
And so when you talk about who you elect as the governor, same thing. But it's not just a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing, Democrat as well. You've got Republican governor in Maryland, Larry Hogan, who has ordered the Democratic DA to take cases away from Marilyn Mosby, claiming she somehow can't prosecute him with no evidence whatsoever.
Right.
And so the reason I am critical of these idiots out here who will tell you not to vote is because they're full of shit. Lamar Johnson, let me go ahead and let me be real clear. And some of y'all listen to these dumbasses. Some of y'all watch their YouTube channels and you follow them on social media and you hear these people saying, oh, you should not vote. Lamar Johnson has sat in prison for 25 years. And finally, black folks in St. Louis elect a black woman district attorney who comes in and investigates and says this man is innocent. And yet it is the attorney general who's stopping that man from coming out and is fighting the district attorney. Avis, that's why I don't give a damn how you feel about any candidate. The reality is this: somebody's gonna win. And there's more than likely, if there's a progressive district attorney or a progressive attorney general, it's more likely to stand to say Lamar Johnson should get out and that black man should not be sitting in prison, and that's why voting matters.
Absolutely. I mean, it could not be more stark. The situation that we have right now in St. Louis is absolutely egregious. And you're exactly right. It's not just St. Louis. We are seeing cases across the country where progressive prosecutors are trying to do the right thing, are trying to push for justice for all of us and not just the few, right? And the minute that they do, they are hitting these brick walls by people at the state level, oftentimes the attorney general or the governor, that's trying to usurp their power. So this is why it's so important that we vote, and that we vote everywhere, up and down the ballot, all right? Such that when we take control, we can use our power in a way that we can actually shift the power dynamics in this nation. The reason why they're trying to usurp this power is because that's what they understand that it is, okay? This is one of the first time in our history where we've had so many progressive prosecutors who are actually looking for justice and not just throwing people in jail.
Right.
And they're trying to usurp that. They want that power to remain in the hands of the same people who've had it for centuries, and they're trying to push back. And if we can stop them, we need to, and the way that we stop them is through our vote.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. As the marijuana momentum continues, our good friends at marijuanastock.org have already reached more than half of their funding goal for the hemp CBD investment. If you want to take advantage of the great opportunity, you need to do it now because it won't last much longer. And of course, I'm talking about the hemp plant, the good cousin to marijuana, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Also, if you don't know, hemp farming is now legal in the United States, creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. Folks, it's an opportunity for you to invest. And that's where the folks at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and leases it to licensed high-paying tenants. They're essentially hemp CBD landlords, so you could get in on the action. Now, hemp continues to change the economic landscape. 420 Real Estate is allowing you to chase the American dream. You can invest as little as $200 up to $10,000 as part of their crowdfunding campaign. And you must do it, of course, before the fund is closed. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.